afternoon, everybody. This is a live update, storm chase mode, heading toward the target of northeastern Kansas. Surface flow just off to my south here on I-70 is deepening down to about 1,004 millibars. That's forecast to continue to strengthen even into the upper 990s as it lifts off to the northeast. And then a warm front is going to settle in near the I-70 corridor, and I do expect explosive initiation of supercell storms, likely just to the southeast of Salina, and then they should shimmy at about 20 miles an hour up to that warm frontal zone, which will be draped near or just to the north of I-70 by about 22 Z. So I expect initiation at like 5 p.m. I'm going to be flex sealing my bumper as well, putting some flex tape on there, and that'll hold the bumper together as we intercept these intense supercells this late afternoon through evening. Looks like these are going to be monster HP storms, high precipitation. They easily could congeal into a complex of storms that slides off to the southeast toward Kansas City this evening. I think there is even a threat of a strong tornado or two, probably between about 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock this evening along the I-70 corridor near and east of Salina, including Topeka, maybe even Kansas City. It's possible that all these individual storms could congeal into a complex that slides east-southeast toward Kansas City with an embedded tornado threat through this evening. Ahead of the big-time low-level westerly wind frontal zone that's going to settle in near I-70, and that's going to create wind shear 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative velocity in excess of 300 to 400 in that pipe through northeastern Kansas, all the way to the northeastern quadrant of that surface low. And come on. There it is. There is the data. So, Storm Prediction Center looks like they're likely going to add a 10% area for tornadoes across northeastern Kansas and the northwestern Missouri for the 20Z outlook. That's going to be coming in at about 3 p.m. And I think there's going to be tornado watches issued late afternoon, probably by about 21Z. So about 4 p.m. is when I anticipate those tornado watches to go out. And then you're going to see rapid kind of how YouTube goes. It'll go in and out a little bit signal-wise. Well, we are back on I-70, just on the west side of that surface low. That's about 1,004 millibars analyzed by the RAP. A very compact wind field around that low pressure as well. And that surface low is going to lift off to the northeast very slowly. I don't think NOAA hates me, do they? Maybe they do. Just work hard. Can't fault this a hard-working person. It's a hard-working, middle-aged human. Let's hate that guy. Just grinding here west to east over northern I-70, targeting near and just to the east of Salina. Tomorrow also looks interesting. Central Kansas outflow boundary from the complex of storms that's going to fire this evening and overnight is going to be draped across central Kansas tomorrow. The RAP model is a really good model at forecasting the destabilization in the wake of these MCSs, the timing and positioning of outflow boundaries. It's definitely the best model, I believe, for this setup. And we're going by the RAP, predicting this I-70 corridor to go nuts. I've been eating a lot of this activated charcoal over the last week. It has cleaned out my system taking the wet blanket off my nervous system a little bit, and I feel like $1 million heading into this chase. Meeting up with Captain Vanover, the world champion drone racer, coming up here in Salina, and we're going to try to capture that shot again with the Dominator FPV. Flying circles around the tornado, up and down the corner flow. Corner flow of a tornado is where all the surface inflow heads in toward the vortex and then shoots up at a 90-degree angle straight upward. That's called corner flow. And so we try to sample in the Dominator 4 here, trying to get that subsonic on the ground from close range. So we got the drone racing operation, we've got the subsonic sensor, we'll be flex taping the bumper, blowing all the windows out from gorilla size hail later on this evening. Very good chance I'm going to finish off this windshield today. And then there's a threat of more gargantuan hail tomorrow, central and southern Kansas, with another outflow boundary. The slower ejection of that system from the four corners is actually going to give us 2 storm chasing days instead of 1. So now we're going to have today and also tomorrow, Friday. I think that's Friday, yeah, tomorrow, yeah. Sounds like central southern Kansas does look interesting. It's that time of year where you get these complexes of storms that form overnight, continue into the next morning, and then they leave behind an outflow boundary, or they reinforce a warm frontal zone, as is happening in this case. And boy, are those easterly winds at about 10 knots at the surface, between about 35 knots to 40 knots to 500, 40 to 50 knots of bulk shear, more than sufficient for intense supercells. And the low-level shear with that 40-knot low-level jet over those easterlies at the surface, that's creating 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity in excess of 300. So if you're going to get a tornado, it's going to be a strong, possibly violent tornado. I don't see a big outbreak of a bunch of weak tornadoes today. I think in this environment with that 40-knot low-level jet, you're either going to have no tornadoes or a couple of strong tornadoes out there. 4,000 to 5,000 K, very moist environment, wrapping along the northeastern quadrant. Up at a surface low, easterly surface winds beneath a 40-knot low-level jet out of the south-southwest. Welcome to the cabin here at Dominator 4 as I am heading toward the target area. I think supercells are going to initiate at about 4 or 5 p.m., probably just to the southwest of Salina. And then they'll meander off to the north toward that warm frontal zone, and it'll quickly start producing tornadoes. Probably be on a tornado by 5 or 6 p.m., or at least an intense supercell by that point. A lot of high clouds out here in the northwest quadrant of that surface low, but temperature is 80 degrees up here. We're about 100 miles west of Hayes, about 2.5 hours from Salina. So it should arrive about an hour or so before initiation. I think northwestern Missouri certainly does have a chance of a tornado or two along that outflow boundary warm front as well. It's possible that you could get supercells developing a little bit earlier, or you also have the big complex of storms that's going to go through northwestern Missouri, including the Kansas City area, with a big-time flood threat, embedded tornadoes, damaging straight-line winds, big hail, especially when these are able to maintain a supercellular structure, so probably more early on in their life cycles when they're going to be slinging baseballs at the car. And that big hail threat extends all the way north of the surface low to the northwest side of the surface low, even into northwestern Kansas, where I am right now. So there's a threat of big supercells coming out of Colorado and moving into these moist northeasterly winds, destabilizing even to the northwest, on the northwestern quadrant of that surface low. Be a lot of storm chasers out here in northeastern Kansas. The enhanced risk also includes southern Nebraska. I can see that warm front with that 40-knot low-level jet even lifting a little bit north of I-70. So I'm also keeping in that Concordia to Marysville target open as well. What's that noise? Dominator weather stations are coming along well. You guys can sign up for email updates at dominatorwx.net. The Mark is working on that ultrasonic anemometer. Coming to fruition. Incredible he was able to invent that ultrasonic anemometer with his own mind and bare hands. Gizmo's here. She's in my lap right now. She's resting in my lap. Demands my left arm as a pillow. That's why I'm not using my left arm right now, but I'm using my right. Yeah, Gizmo also recovered from storm chasing mode. Yeah, she's a good dog, a great doggy. This shirt is a Chimney Rock shirt. I got it when I was visiting my mom and sisters out there, and we checked out Chimney Rock near Lake Lure in western North Carolina. Beautiful area. Starting to get a little hungry right now. Figured I'd maybe stop here at Jimmy John's, but I'll just keep driving. Block out. Kind of doing a pseudo fast here as I'm storm chasing. Everything I do is to try to prolong my storm chasing career at this point. Eating fiber, activated charcoal, non-stop exercise every day. Try to keep my pipes cleaned out. Gizmo as well. She's on the CBD for dogs, on his paws. We're in the Dominator glass right now. Dominator glass isn't capable of seeing storms developing from like 80 miles away when the naked eye can't see them. The Dominator glass can resolve those storms developing off in the distance. They're going to come in handy today near the Salina area, looking off to the southwest at those supercells developing. I think they're going to develop more in the wake of the MCS that has already died, but it's still, the remnants of it are sliding southeast through central Missouri. A lot of moisture, though, in the wake of that MCB. And you've got that surface low that right now is in central Kansas, just to my southeast, south of I-70. It's going to lift off to the northeast toward the Salina, Topeka area. And just ahead of that surface low, I expect the low-level jet to ramp up above 40 knots out of the south-southwest, overtop those easterlies that are oriented within that corridor, extending into northeastern Kansas. Bless Gizmo's heart. She is just the cutest thing. There you go. A little foggy. I'm going to have to defog that lens a bit. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you guys for those super chat contributions, making live storm chasing like this possible. Live briefings. I don't really see the moisture out here. I'm not a big fan of Subway anymore. I just missed the cold cut combo, but it's kind of weird. You just get pizza at Subway. Thanks, guys. I'm more of a fan of Taco Bell. I've heard that it's fake tuna. Who knows? Probably got some mercury or something there. Who knows? Thanks, guys, for tuning in to my live briefing as I'm heading out to the target area, northeastern Kansas, near and just to the east of Salina, along the I-70 corridor. Looks most favorable. I think these storms are going to initiate at about 5 p.m. just to the southwest of Salina, and then maybe move a little bit north of east at about 20 miles an hour. Storm motion is going to be very manageable today. Perfect to launch the racing drone around these supercell storms. Very easily it could congeal into a complex and slide southeast toward Kansas City this evening, later this evening. And I'm also going to chase central Kansas tomorrow. I always manually check my blind spots before making lane changes. You never know if someone's tucked back in there observing the hail dance of Dominator 4, admiring, I should say. Sometimes I pull up into a gas station, people are like, start freaking out, taking photos of it. Even if they aren't familiar with the Dominator 4, they start taking photos of it because of all the hail dents and everything on the outside. Yep, I'm closing in on Wakini. Beautiful area here in northern Kansas. This is why I live in Colorado, because I can catch Kansas in 3 hours, catch the Kansas border, catch central Kansas in 6 hours. I can catch western South Dakota in 6 hours. I can get up even to Canada in like 12 hours, 12, 15 hours up there. So really is the perfect spot. I'm like 8 hours out of Billings. We even get to Oklahoma in 8 hours or so, 9 hours. Extreme instability is going to be in place for this setup. 4 to 5,000 Cape, an arch of Cape going right along that warm front as that warm front lifts north to the I-70 corridor on the east side of that surface low that's going to be deepening into the upper 990s as it lifts off to the northeast. Tomorrow looks like a big day as well. Central Kansas. Wind shear is extreme. Low-level shear in excess of 300 along that boundary, with those easterly winds at about 10 knots, beneath about 40 knots, westerly 535 knots. It's going to create bulk shear of like 45 knots. More than sufficient to evacuate rain and hail from the updraft. Come on, there it is, we are back. Sometimes the data can be a little bit spotty here. Starting to get some showers. Just some raindrops coming down on the northwest side of this surface low. Temperature is still 83 degrees back here. It's going to be moist with those northeasterly winds. Beautiful structure as those supercells come out of northeast Colorado into northwest Kansas. Those raindrops coming in. pretty late in the year to be in the southern plains, but these last few years have been weird. Hurricanes starting a lot earlier than they're supposed to. Storm season being weird. A lot of tornadoes still to intercept out here. Only a couple hours out of Salinas. I'll arrive within plenty of time to document initiation. I like to watch the storms develop, see the structure, see what the cumulonimbus looks like when they're first developing. I like to see the updraft bases and look for visual patterns to become a better storm chaser. Try to recognize those storms when they, from birth, that become tornadoes, and see characteristics of those tornadic storms. One is definitely a big, crisp updraft base, clean inflow. Cap might be strong enough just to have one or two supercells involved in the warm frontal zone, and that means that there's definitely going to be pretty substantial tornado potential in that scenario. Sun's still coming out, a little bit of rain tinkling down. Feels very moist out here, unstable. I think the Storm Prediction Center is going to add a 10% area in northeastern Kansas into northwestern Missouri at the 3 p.m. outlook, 20Z, 3 p.m. Central. Stop for the legend, stay for the day. Buffalo Bill Sculpture and Visitor Center. Fick Fossil and History Museum, Monument Rocks. Man, I gotta take a vacation to Oakley sometime. I'm always storm chasing when I pass through Oakley. I am pretty hungry. I'm considering a stop at McDonald's. I kind of feel like a Big Mac right now. Eating so healthy over the last few weeks that I'm craving fast food big time now. Man, I need some McDonald's. Flying J isn't what it used to be ever since they got rid of the meatballs and even the meatloaf. They're advertising meatloaf and you go in there, there's none, just pizza and chicken fingers. Flying J used to be able to get a gourmet meal. Posted here recently on Twitter how I feel like the up-close storm chasing art form is basically a dying art form now. There are only a few people that do it, and you always see the same people right up tight, close. Pete, Connor McCrory, Scantman, all those people close. But you never see new people in there very often up nice and tight. And that's because it takes a lot of experience to learn how to get close to tornadoes safely. Seems like the trend these days are for structured time lapses. I'm driving in to intercept a tornado and I see like 50 tripods set up. Everybody taking a long distance time lapse for their time lapse films. It's definitely the mainstream style of storm chasing now, those time lapses. And then you get the mid-range maniacs that like to get close enough to kind of see the tornado genesis process and 3D, but maybe aren't as willing or don't have the mission to get right up close and kind of analyze and be able to recognize those occlusions from underneath. But you get a lot of variables when you're trying to get close to a tornado. You need a tornado to cross a good road network. You can't get stuck in the mud. There are a lot of hazards close to a tornado that don't exist further away. Lightning strikes out of the bear's cage. Some baseball-sized hail getting wrapped around. Kind of executing a hook slice maneuver and approaching up shear is kind of the finesse way of getting up close to tornadoes. But it requires a lot of trust and knowledge in the storm structure to be able to punch through all that rain, dust, and hail. Know that the tornado's off to the east-southeast, but also knowing that there's likely a space, a little bit of a clear moat on the outside of that tornado that make it quite visible, even if they are wrapped in rain. Getting close to tornadoes can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So that's why I'll never advocate for that again. And will accept the fact that the dying art form of up-close tornado chasing is a good thing for overall safety of people, especially those newer storm chasers. But a lot of people think they're up close and they're a half mile away from the tornado, and you've got another 10 minutes of driving to do to get up close. Really feel that inflow, see the tornado genesis process in 3D. I feel like a long distance structure shot is almost more of a painting. It looks in 2D. A lot of the art involved in that is adjusting the colors and everything in post process. But time lapses are incredibly hard. You gotta have the equipment, you gotta have the patience to stand there. Summer camp, totally different style of art. I think getting close to tornadoes is more about the process than the end product that is the video. The art form is the process of getting close to tornadoes safely. But quite a good debate that unfolded on Twitter. Everybody thinks their own style is the best style, and what they do is more important than what anybody else is doing, and that's normal. That's just human nature. But I think all styles of storm chasing are awesome, from the long distance time lapses to the mid-range maniacs to the up-close storm chasers. That the up-close style of chasing has almost been labeled as a Yahoo method, but really I think the amount of skill and experience that it takes to get up close to tornadoes safely is vastly underestimated by the storm structure hipsters out there, and there's a lot of them these days. A lot of it's due to Michael Binsky kind of leading the way for the time lapsers. A lot of people will mimic those that are successful right out of the gate, and no one's been more successful at time lapses and photography of storms than Michael Binsky. And he'll release a film that a lot of times has one word. And I saw some that were released as vorticity, and then you'll see all these films come out with just one word in Arial font across incredible structure. But that's the new art form, and the mainstream style of storm chasing are these time lapses from 5 to 10 miles out from the storm. Whereas I kind of came from a period where it was trendy to get up close to tornadoes, and a lot of the more conservative meteorologists and stuff would say, you know, people are going to try to emulate you and get up close to tornadoes and potentially could lose their lives. And that's why I say that storms are very dangerous, and if you don't know what you're doing, then it's definitely not safe to get up close to tornadoes. And I think time lapsing is a great way to get started off storm chasing too, and kind of get your feet wet, get out there and see the storm structure, be able to identify it from long range, and then maybe go with a storm chaser that likes to get a little bit closer, but someone who's really experienced with doing it. And then that's how you can learn what storm structure of tornadic supercells looks like from underneath. Look it straight up at the cinnamon bun, look it straight up at the nipple, and the occlusion process of the dry air wrapping all the way around the tornado vortex. Yeah, there is a little bit of a stratostack cover here on the northwest side of that surface low, but then a clear slot's going to wrap around the south side and southeastern side of that low, and that's already clearing out the warm sector to the east of it. And the 40 knot low-level jet that's invigorated to the east of that surface low is lifting off to the I-70 corridor. Enjoyed smoking that pork butt the other day. It was only a 3-pounder, but that was my first pork butt that I've ever smoked. Next I'm going to do a 5-pounder, and And I'm probably doing brisket at some point after that. That's supposed to be the most difficult of the main barbecues. Oh, see that blind spot? Bandit right there. So I'm excited to see the 3 p.m. outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. I bet they do add a 10% risk across that northeastern corner of Kansas, maybe into northwest Missouri as well. I think supercells initiate near or just to the southwest of Salina, and then will mature as they move east-northeast toward that outflow boundary warm frontal zone. Water? It's beautiful out here in western Kansas. I'll never forget my first time driving through here. How flat it was, how small I felt, how big the sky looks, and how far away you can actually see storms. Meeting up with the world champion drone racer, Captain Alex Vanover. Excited to meet up with him. Try to get that shot again with Dominator FPV, working that corner flow of the tornado, shooting straight up and down the edge of the funnel. Meant to be streaming live on Twitch during this entire severe weather season, so I gotta get my account, Storm Chaser Reed Timmer, back up and running on Twitch. Passing the Grinnell, Kansas area now. RVs everywhere, up and down these big interstates. Everybody is hitting the road this summer. Defend the fort, Fort Hays. Fort Hays State University. Defend the fort. appear to be thinning out a little bit. I can see some holes, some blue sky up above. Temperature continues to rise to the mid 80s here. Closing in on haze. Yeah, no, these are Dominator glass. So I can see storms from like 90 miles away with these things. Uber polarized glasses, able to see very long distance. Talking to Flexsteel maybe about building another Dominator too. Should be awesome. Right now though, I would just have product to make sure my bumper doesn't fall off. A Dominator 4. Just one stripe of flex tape is all it takes. Right up there in the front left bumper. There in 8 miles, good. Show you some beautiful scenes of Kansas here. Look at that. Jeez. See the sun starting to come out, starting to shine all the green, the brighter green. Definitely could use the rain across eastern Kansas. And it's June 24, the 18-year anniversary of the Manchester, South Dakota intercept. June 24, 2003. And that's also when Tim Samaras went in to measure the world record pressure deficit inside of a tornado. He deployed it just north of Manchester there as that tornado made a turn to the north and went due north. We actually saw Tim zoom by our vehicle. I was with Jim Bishop of Stormgasm on that day in his little Mazda. And we were backing up out of the path of that tornado and saw Tim pass us to the left, turn north on the other farm road, and then deployed his probe to the north of Manchester as it was roping out and including. Excited to get some McDonald's here at the first available opportunity. Captain Vanover's eating at Five Guys in Salina right now. He says if you're not fast, you're going to get passed. I've been on the Weather Channel before in the past, never as an employee. Almost signed a contract with them, but I decided to go with Vacuum Weather years ago. Just because it was more of a storm chasing centric type of a job. I'm not a TV meteorologist. And I ended up going with Vacuum Weather. Better benefits, health insurance, more flexible schedule. But I was really grateful for the offer to work at the Weather Channel then. I think that was like 2016 when that was happening. But now I just storm chase for myself. Kind of a lone wolf out here. Stream through social media. Do have some sponsorships. Radar Omega. Tornado Safe certified shelters. Working on Flex Seal. Went out and get himself some corporate sponsors. Jonas Miller game plan. Self-funded science. Jonas Miller was actually the true hero of Twister because he probably funded all the science out of his own pocket. Big northeasterly's ripping here at like 20 miles an hour. That surface low just off to the southeast here, south of Hayes, continues to deepen. It's going to deepen into the upper 990s as it slides off to the northeast toward the Salina area. So yeah, maybe we'll get a tornado here on the 18-year anniversary of intercepting that F4 tornado near Manchester. And that crazy that farmer came up to us with a real high-pitched voice after that. We were watching another noodle tornado touchdown, a lot of tornadoes after the big one. And another big one before that too, that was near Woonsocket. The farmer came up and he was like, "Looks to me like it's coming this way." Kind of sounded like the Cookie Monster. Looks to me like it's coming this way. With a crazy high-pitched voice. It was awesome. One of the best voices I've ever heard. I'll post that video in the next couple days. Should have posted it yesterday, but another Subaru. It's a lot better than mine. New York plates. You need some hail dents on that Subaru. Eat it up. Use it. Use that Subaru. Moore was an EF5 in 2013. The 1999 Moore was also an F5. But there was another Moore tornado in 2003. That was an F4. That was a big year, 2003. You had May 4, 2003, May 8, 2003, which is when that Moore tornado happened. And you had a lot stronger tornadoes up central and eastern Kansas as well. Maybe not stronger, but more tornadoes. May 4 was the big mega outbreak when you had the Girard, Kansas tornado, Pierce City down in Missouri, that tornado. We also got a tornado the day before that near Haskell, Texas on May 3rd, 2003. And we started off that season with a bang on April 5th, 2003 with a tornado down near Aspermont, Texas, northwest Texas. Finished it off strong June 24, 2003 with a Manchester, South Dakota tornado. And the day before that, on June 23rd, 2003, there was a near record-breaking hailstone that people were saying it was almost up to volleyball size there because of the hole in somebody's roof in Aurora, Nebraska. 2002 was an active year. This year reminds me a lot of 2002 for some reason. So, and in 2015, for example, it almost kind of had more of an El Nino pattern than La Nina. Even though I have La Nina in the Pacific, kind of a lot of split flow action. Seems like next year could be a legendary year for tornadoes, 2022. Yeah, I was 23 years old back then in 2003. I think I feel better at 41 than I did when I was 23. Living a college life back then. Park, Kansas, I saw a tornado here in 2007 off to the south of I-70. I-70 was also really active in 2008. You had the May 22nd and May 23rd events up here. One of those events, I think it was the 23rd, there was a killer tornado in Windsor, Colorado on the north side of that ejecting surface low. And then it reached north central Kansas by peak heating, and then tornadic supercells all over the place on that day. think 2013 is the last time that we saw an EF5 tornado, so it's been like 8 years. 2013, you had more EF5. 2011 had a bunch of EF5 tornadoes. Super outbreak. And 3 of them, I think. We saw 3 alone in that year. May 24, 2011, that Piedmont EF5 tornado near Piedmont, Oklahoma. Definitely see the moisture out here. See the moisture, the pub in the nose of the moisture axis. Out there east of Hayes. Sounds like my bumper's starting to rattle a little bit. Flex Seal is going to come particularly handy during hurricane season when there's such an abundance of rain. Basically, if you're chasing a hurricane, you got to be prepared to get damp, like you have never been damp before. And waterproofing the vehicle is quite critical. I'd like to cover this whole thing with Flex Tape liquid, so it's basically like a rubber ball going down the road. About 28 miles out from McDonald's now. Excited. I'm gonna go old school and get a Big Mac. Maybe a 20-piece chicken nugget too as an appetizer leading up to the Big Mac. Gizmo loves the chicken nuggets. I often give her a blowout though when she has chicken nuggets from McDonald's. I think this is the breading on the exterior of the nugget. Yeah, Gizmo is so precious. I'm so lucky to have her in my life. My partner in crime out here. She's seen tornadoes during 8 straight years, so it's definitely a record for dogs. I'm just not very good with paperwork, so I haven't submitted anything to the Guinness Book of World Records, but Gizmo would win. Promise you that. Look at the sun come out, everybody. Look at the beautiful sunshine. Woo. Gizmo! Yay! Isn't she the cutest one? Yeah, I'm 41, but pretty immature for my age, I think, mainly because I've just been driving around in this vehicle my whole entire life. Don't get out much, don't socialize too much either anymore, so kind of trapped out here in this time warp in Dominator 4. Try to eat healthy, keep inflammation low, do a lot of cardio, ride my bike, run, basketball, golf, storm chase, dominating. Activated charcoal too. I've been having a lot with a superfood bowl with an acai, whatever the hell you say it, with a base, superfood base. Man, has that done wonders on lifting the wet blanket off my nervous system. Feeling a lot better after having some extreme fatigue during this spring. Not anymore. Feeling like $1 million out here. So I'm passing Quinter. This is where that tornado on May 23rd happened, right along the warm front here. It was foggy to the north of the warm front, clear and sunny out to the south. And storms will develop in the more mixed environment, more unstable, then move up toward that warm frontal zone and then produce tornadoes along I-70. I remember your Quinter 1 and Quinter 2 tornadoes. That was 2008. 2-day outbreak, May 22nd, May 23rd, 2008. You can also check out Castle Rock here, the Kansas edition of that, off the Quinter exit. So we got a Dairy Queen. Still got northerly wind streaming right into that surface low that is located to the south here of I-70. Our new show, Category 6, airs on National Geographic Channel this fall. It's called Storm Rising now. The name got changed. But that'll include the 2020 hurricane season. Decent chance that it comes back again, too, for another season. They wanted to see how the ratings do first. So I'm not a big fan of putting shows on pause. I'm all about a network gambling on you, believing in you. But that's the show we're working on now, a series called Storm Rising. We did shoot one episode this year on April 23rd where we got inside of a tornado, deployed the subsonic with Aaron J. Jack on approach to that tornado, which got rated an EF3, so that's the strongest tornado that I've seen all season. And a couple of EF2s there also early on, March 13th, Texas Panhandle. It's a very active day there. Some moisture up on probably the synoptic scale, the mainstream warm front. Seeing some low clouds there to the north of that. Holy cow, I almost ran out of gas. Wasn't even aware. Having so much fun with you guys that I let Dominator 4 get a little bit low. Seems like now we can just do a show on social media. We have our own platform, our own network now. I can live stream, shoot content for social media platforms for YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram. Now I'll start up a TikTok account next. Say I'm seeing a little bit of convection trying to fire off to the south, but I think it's based in the mid-levels. Just kind of showing those steep lapse rates that are in the vicinity of that surface low. So this is as raw and real as it gets here, the live stream from inside the vehicle during a long, occasionally boring drive all the way out to the storm. But about 5 o'clock Central is when I plan on firing up that live stream for full-blown storm chase mode. Days of storm chasing today and tomorrow. So I can pretty much make it from Denver to Waukene on one tank of gas, which isn't bad. I think I actually filled up to the east of Denver. But sometimes when I'm near high elevation, there's an inefficiency within the Dominator 4 that makes the vehicle not handle as well at high altitude. Sometimes it feels like it slips in the gears or like loses power, and I think it might be something to do with the carburetor, but I'm not sure 100%. Trego County, there was actually a big tornado here too on June 9, 2005. I was on a supercell near Hill City that was pumping out tornadoes, including 2 at the same time. And the storm just to the south of that also produced down here in Trego County. I think Petrowski was on that one. 2005 was a pretty big year for storm chasing, as was 2004 and 2003 and 2002. 2007 was a big one. 2006 was a horrid year for storm chasing, really inactive. 2008 was a big year. 2009 was a big year in June, not so much in May. 2010, mass chaos. 2011, obviously the most active April in recorded history. 2012 was kind of a bummer, not as active. Drought conditions dominating the high plains. 2013, a little bit of a weak El Nino out there, active subtropical jet. 2 weeks in May was basically that season. Second half of May, everything went nuts. Similarly, in 2014, the active period was in mid-June. There was only a 2-week period that was the entire season, including the Pilger, Nebraska twin tornadoes, numerous cases of dual EF4s on the ground. 2015 was kind of a weaker El Nino too, with an active energized subtropical jet. Reminded me a lot of this year. 2016 was also one of the better storm chasing years for the southern plains there with the Dodge City Day. Chapman was one that I missed. And then 2017, I got stuck in the ditch there in the path of that monster wedge tornado in Canton. 2018 was a high plains year, aside from Tescott, Kansas on May 1st. Where you had that, we had that big intercept near Cheyenne where I actually saw cows fly through the air in the high plains there, late May 2018. 2019 was a big year too, southern plains and beyond. High plains were active. The state record hailstone near Otis, Colorado, 2019, August. Dorian, and then I came back and intercepted more tornadoes in September in eastern Wyoming, September 2019. 2018 was also a very active southwest U.S. monsoon. It's probably going to be similar to what's happening this year. Moderators, you're doing good work. I'm going to give you some backup too. My book covered everything up until the Dominator, and that's when all the crazy stuff started with the Dominators, and personal life got a little crazy there too during Storm Chasers. You never really anticipate how reality television will impact your life, but man, it sure does. Sometimes you don't even know when it's happening. But looking back, you're just thankful to have survived. Yeah. So that tornado to the southwest of Chicago was rated an EF3. There was sadly one fatality there near the Naperville area. Looked like it was stronger earlier in its life cycle, then a little bit weaker as it got closer to the southwest side of Chicago. Some of the kinematic analysis of those wind fields from the radar site there in Chicago analyzed over 800 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity, which is pretty much required to get a low-level mesocyclone that can generate a negative pressure perturbation, so it can drill through that negative K per sin. It's probably about 100 or 200 joules per kilogram sin on that day, negative K. And you need to have an upward directed pressure gradient force toward that negative pressure perturbation within the low-level mesocyclone that's strong enough to counteract the negative K. That happens with convective inhibition. Interesting analysis, though. I do plan on doing a case study on that event. Coming up here, we'll do a live case study on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, the Nashville tornado also was in an environment with pretty strong convective inhibition, but had a strong enough low-level mesocyclone that it could dynamically pipe through that negative K. The Greensburg, Kansas EF5 tornado in 2007 had like 150 convective inhibition as those supercells matured and produced obviously strong tornadoes, an EF5 and an EF4 tornado. Again, I'm just on my drive out to the target area, northeastern Kansas, near Salina, just to the east of Salina. Expecting that warm front to lift a little bit north toward I-70, maybe even a little bit north of I-70, closer to the Nebraska border. Alright guys, I'm going to stop at McDonald's up here, and I'm going to fire up this live stream closer to 5 p.m. once these storms initiate. Thanks for joining me for this live chat on the way out to the target area. And storm chase mode will be activated by late afternoon, and I am planning on streaming live a lot more through YouTube on this chase. Never stop chasing or flexing.